Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. It's that time of the week for Three Men in the Box NCAA college football show with Matt Grissom and Quentin Mills. It's Friday, October 20th, 2023. Next Friday, the last full Friday in the month of October. Then we turn the calendar, I think on Wednesday, to November 1st, a day I love because it's the start of college basketball. I think there's a team in Storrs, Connecticut from UConn, who's the reigning national champs, currently ranked 6th in the country. Marquette in front of them in the Big East right now at number 5. So I heard there's a team in Lawrence called the Kansas Jayhawks that is loaded. So it ought to be a fun year of that. But we got plenty of college football to talk about today with Quentin and Matt. First, a shout out to our new sponsor and partnership with WagerWire. Blessed and honored to be a part of that team that is going places. And if you haven't downloaded the app, please go to Google Play or wherever you download those apps and get it now. Sync all your wagers with all the different sports books. Take a look at all the promos and free wagers and bets from the DraftKings, the FanDuels and Caesars, the BetMGM and stuff, and get in there and sign up now. And if you want to look for a little side hustle, go and send an email to affiliates at wagerwire.com. Travis, Zach, and the rest of the team will take good care of you there. Tell them JD sent you from ECSI, and the rest is history. Shout out to the men behind the glass. Joe long day. It's Friday here, guys. Joseph Shea, Evan Lewis, Olu, Bennett, and of course, Cade Horton. So without further ado, let's bring them in. The co-stars of this show, Mr. Quentin Mills and Matt Grissom.
What's up, Jeffrey?
Afternoon, gentlemen.
What's going on?
It's another Friday. I'm reflecting back to last Saturday, and of course, I couldn't have been happier waiting for that Washington-Oregon game. You know, we gave out Washington Pac-12 winners in August, and the dream team to sneak into the Final Four, to break the Pac-12 curse and to shock the world. If you want my honest 2 cents, obviously it was the best game of the week to watch, but for long-term, Oregon, I think, is the better team. The coach played Russian roulette all game, and he stayed consistent, missed field goal at the end. But I think long-term, Bo Nix and their running attack and their physicality on defense, I think they're the best team in the Pac-12 there. And we lost Matt. That's okay. And then the nightcap, you're fine, Matt. And then the nightcap was Caleb Williams absolutely laying an egg in Notre Dame. He goes from co-favorite with Mr. Penix Jr. to plus 3,000. You can get him as high as plus 3,500 right now to win the Heisman. And it's amazing that the former Heisman champ now plus 3,500. So I'm going to go to Matt. Matt, welcome. Thoughts on Caleb, thoughts on USC, thoughts on last week in football?
Well, to cherry pick what Tim Murray just said, USC and Caleb Williams look soft. And that was a very disappointing showing. You know, I was on USC heavy on them, and Notre Dame just took it to them. I mean, they didn't have an answer for anything they did. Caleb Williams didn't look good. What, he have 3 picks through the first half? I mean, just inexcusable. He lost himself the shot at the Heisman again.
Q, last week you had a week off. You were working. God bless you. What'd you see in college football?
Big win by Florida. Made me happy. To piggyback on the 2 games, I watched both of them. Oregon, I thought, there's analytics involved in modern day football, but sometimes you gotta take the points, especially when you're on the road. I think analytics have to be played a different way. When you're at home, you have the crowd to your advantage. You can play it, maybe more analytical football and kind of live another day. But I do agree with you, Jeff. I think Oregon's a better team. I think we'll see this matchup here in the near future. Oregon's got a couple big games left on the schedule as well as Washington. So if they do get back, I think Oregon is probably the right side again, just like we all kind of thought they were the right side this past weekend. Notre Dame looks soft. Their defense, it's leaky. Matt and I kind of talked about that throughout the season. They can't stop anybody, and that's their downfall, and that's the reason they're not going to win a national title or make the college football playoffs. So
he said Notre Dame. I'm assuming he meant USC.
I on
Notre
our
Dame
second
did
alert,
not look
I'm
soft.
sorry. Yeah, USC.
Yes. On our second alert on Saturday, I was watching the first half of the Alabama-Arkansas game, thinking of you, Matt, of course. I did say on last Friday's show, I thought Arkansas had a shot to cover that and get their team total. Looked dominated in the first half, played a great second half. My point is, at halftime, I looked on the DraftKings, and Alabama was plus 2,000 to win the national title. Now, do I think they're going to win the national title? No, probably not. But the path is there. Already at halftime, I assumed they were going to beat Arkansas, which hats off again to you, Matt, and your Razorbacks. Played a great second half, had an opportunity to win that game. Alabama, 8.5-point favorites this week at home against Tennessee, a revenge spot. Tennessee beat them last year, put up 51. Jalen Hyatt scored 5 touchdowns in that game. On my bench on a lot of fantasy rosters, waiting for him to shine, obviously, in the NFL. I think then in 2 weeks at home against LSU, they finish out the year in the Iron Bowl against Auburn. The assumption is they're going to face an undefeated Georgia team in the SEC finals with an Alabama win. The assumption is they're going to get into the Final Four. Then that would add to my resume and my portfolio. Matt, thoughts on Arkansas, Alabama last week, and then your thoughts. Give me a temperature on the SEC.
I think you said it best. Arkansas played well despite, once again, covering but not winning. I think the last time they did it was against A&M. But I think what stuck out to me most is that this Alabama defense isn't like Nick Saban's typical defenses of old, and they're going to give up points. And I think actually Joe Milton in Tennessee might have Alabama's number as far as being able to put up points. So looking at the stats, I mean, Tennessee's defense is actually playing better than what I would have assumed that they would under Josh Heupel, with their struggles really being Joe Milton. I mean, they're ranked 88 in pass yards forced. That's not going to cut it to win big-time SEC games. Now, that being said, they're very good at running the ball, and I think Alabama's susceptible to giving up long runs. So I think this may be a tight game. I actually took Tennessee plus 10.5 as one of my bets. So we'll see. I just don't think Alabama is that great. Milroe has just not been impressive to me, but neither is Joe Milton. So I think this will answer a lot of questions moving forward. But I think Nick Saban 20-1 to win the national championship. That's not a bad bet to have in your pocket.
And that was it. Value's only value if you cash a ticket. And at the end of the day, there's only one national champ. But if you get to the Final Four and we have a couple in pocket, you're never going to get a Saban team, obviously, plus $2,000. The number on Georgia is not worth the price. The early season on Washington was. I've given out the popsicle headache to everyone that wants to listen, how much of a shit show this could be come who gets in and who doesn't the last year of just the Final Four. You played the game along, you got a one-loss Georgia team, one-loss Alabama team who's now the SEC champs. You go over to the Big Ten this week. Let's play the game. Ohio State beats Penn State this week. Penn State beats Michigan in 2 weeks in Penn State. And the last game of the year, Michigan then goes and beats Ohio State. You got a one-loss Texas team beats an undefeated Oklahoma team in the Big 12. And then I think in the Pac-12, they're all going to beat each other up. And so there could be 6 or 7 one-loss teams sitting there saying who's in and who's out. So it's definitely going to be a run to the Final Four for sure. Quentin, give us the Florida temperature. Give us your thoughts on your Gators and the thoughts of what you're seeing in the SEC and the overall college ranks.
Yeah, I'm going to just get it out there. I'm on Tennessee as well with Matt. 2 mediocre quarterbacks. But I think what's actually interesting about this game in particular, as well as the entire season, is I think people forgot Nick Saban is a coach. He kind of just walks on the sidelines and his teams win with talent alone, but he's actually having to coach again. And we haven't seen that in probably 13 to 15 years. So I don't know if that's refreshing or just awkward or maybe uncommon, but it's something that we haven't seen in a while. So it is kind of funny to have to see that. I do like Alabama to win the game on a money line, but I think Tennessee hangs at the plus 10.5. Florida's looking good. This is probably the best game Billy Napier has coached. They aired the ball out, something that they were getting crushed on in the media about not having a pass game past 10 yards. They had 9 pass plays of 20 yards or more. Graham Mertz, a couple underthrown balls to start, but then he really dialed in. And I like this offense. I think it stretches out the field with Trey Wilson, with Ricky Pearsall. 2 really good running backs that can kind of catch the ball in the backfield as well as downhill running. If Florida can play this game, I think they can give Georgia a little bit of fits because I think this is the most down Georgia's been in the last 5 years. And then Brock Bowers being out, definitely helps Florida because they could cover him to save their life. So somebody's going to have to step up for Georgia. Ultimately, I think Georgia wins close, but I think Florida's trending in the right direction. I think that win against South Carolina really put some confidence in the media, maybe for Graham Mertz, who does have an arm. He just hasn't been able to use it. And Florida looks to be on the right track and trust the process. As long as Billy Napier has that same style next week against Georgia. If he reverts back to the run game, then it's a one-off and it looks bad. But if he comes out firing, I think things are looking bright in the next year or two.
Shout out to Marty Lowe. Shout out to good friend Billy Hewlin and ECSI VIP for a long, long time. Both Alabama Crimson Tide guys. Roll Tide, roll. As Billy said, the Tide is still in position. Just win, baby. And that's what I like to say in all my Survivor contests. Survive in advance. That's all. I know we, in our games, it's about not if you win, is did you cover and did we cash the ticket? But it's Alabama and a lot of other teams right now. If you have an opportunity and your schedule says so, Washington, Alabama, Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Texas. I mean, just keep winning. That's all you got to do is keep winning, and you'll be in the conversation come late December. Matt, big board. We've kind of coined, and I saw it on the NCAA Insiders, the six pack. So before we head over to Quentin's plays and some of his thought processes, how's your six pack look this week?
And it's busy. I really wanted to play in this Penn State Ohio State game. That's probably one that I was most excited to watch. And then we decided to come up here to Fayetteville and actually go to the game, which going back to talking about Arkansas for a second, I did take the Hogs -6.5. I don't think Mississippi State's a very good team. If we cannot win this back home after, I think, 5 weeks on the road, Sam Pittman's in a lot of trouble. And I think KJ Jefferson gets right in this game. He's going to be able to have success against Mississippi State. So Arkansas -6.5 is one that I'm eyeing and that I played. But let's talk about this Penn State Ohio State game. James Franklin, I know he's not big game James by any means, but I like this Penn State team. Drew Aller is a very impressive quarterback. I took him +4.5. And then I like the under most in this game. I think I got it at under 47. I just don't think either team is going to be able to do a whole lot of scoring. So I think Penn State's best shot is to try to edge this one out by keeping it on the ground, burning that clock. And I'm not very high on the Ohio State quarterback whose name just escaped me. But
Kyle McCord.
Yeah, Kyle McCord. Thanks. I kept wanting to say Cade, but that wasn't right. So, yeah, back Penn State. I know it's an ugly spot, but I'm not sold on this Ohio State team as being the number 3 team in the country.
You know, and I tell you what, I love the Penn State team. Of course, we know what has happened to them when they've traveled to, I was going to say Happy Valley, when they traveled to Ohio State. I remember the game vividly last year when they had a chance to be leading at halftime and they turned the ball over and Ohio State scored. And I want to say Ohio State had like a 7-point lead and then they kind of pulled away in the second half. This game here will measure a lot because everyone's saying Penn State hasn't played anyone. And after what Notre Dame did to USC last week, now that Ohio State win, last play of the game at Notre Dame, is carrying a little more weight. So it will be interesting. And whoever wins this game, obviously, big leg up. I think, honestly, long-term, it means more for, I was going to say Penn State, but if Ohio State does win this game, then Penn State has a chance to knock off Michigan in 2 weeks. I think the look-ahead line is Michigan -3 at Happy Valley, which will be interesting there. Quentin, what are you eyeing so far this week?
Yeah, just to touch on that game, I actually am against Penn State. I don't know if I'm going to bet it, but until James Franklin actually can beats Ohio State and can actually win a game in a crucial moment, I just have to sit out, but believe that Ohio State at home is going to get the victory. You know, I know Kyle McCord hasn't been the shiniest star for Ohio State. Drew Aller, I think you touched on it, Jeff, really well. They haven't played anybody. You know, he's a first-year starter here. So McCord had to go into South Bend and play a rowdy Notre Dame team that obviously is a really good defense. He had to come back against the Maryland team. I think he's just a little more seasoned. And again, he's not not flashy, but he's a good game manager. And that's why I think that, you know, he's going to be a little more less pressure, less starstruck in this game than what Penn State's going to, you know, Drew Aller's going to bring to the table. So, you know, until Penn State can prove me wrong, you have to fade them because the stats are there and the history with James Franklin as well as his Penn State team is there to just fade them. That might be a play where if Penn State jumps out early, I look at a live bet for Ohio State. One of my favorite plays is it's an alternate line because it just got pushed up, but I like South Carolina, Missouri over 58.5 at -128. Love that play. Brady Cook, probably one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best in the SEC. I hate to say it, but Eli Drinkwitz has that team rolling and they're legit. this year. And, they've got a great running back in Schrader. They got Luther Burden, one of the best receivers in college football. And then you go to the South Carolina side, they have Leggett. They got a solid running back. They got a quarterback who's playing out of his mind right now. But neither team can really stop anybody defensively. Missouri has crossed over the 58.5 5 straight games. South Carolina has given 30-plus points in their last 3, and I expect the same thing from a high-powered Mizzou offense. So that's probably my play of the week. I did follow Matt Grissom. He owes me big time on the Hogs -6.5. I'm 0-2 with them this year, so I'm looking to get a victory there. I'm also on him at the Tennessee, coincidentally, plus 10.5. I took a little bit of juice, but I really like that above a 2-score game there. I think it's going to be a 7-point victory or less. And then I have a money line parlay that I really like. Nebraska money line and Georgia Tech is -121. I don't see. Sorry, Jeff, on your Boston College Eagles. Haynes King, I think, is one of the best quarterback in this matchup, and Georgia Tech get him at home, I think, is the difference. And I'm not sold on this Northwestern team by any means to go on the road. So I think Nebraska gets it done and Georgia Tech both at home.
Streaks are made to be broken, just like James Franklin's
I like where your eyes
they
are.
record. And I think Arkansas finally responds with your 0-2 start there, Q.
I need it.
All right, Matt, what else you got on the desk?
I took Colorado State plus 7.5 versus UNLV. I think Barry Odom is overperforming his expectations, but I do think they could slip up here. Colorado State's got a really good offense. I think they could pick apart the running Rebs. So take them 7 in the hook. I also took Wisconsin money line. This is more fade Brett Bielema. I'm going to take Luke Fickell and the Badgers over Brett Bielema in Illinois every chance I can at a short number. I think I laid -120, 125. The Penn State, Ohio State under, that was one that I jumped on earlier this week. Loved it. And then kind of like Q, I did a little money line parlay of myself. I took USC Trojans. I don't trust the big number against Utah. Let's remember Utah's defense is really good. You just saw what USC did against a really good defense. But I do think they bounce back. Caleb Williams has got to have a better game. So USC, I paired that with Florida State and Arkansas money line. So that I believe was around like -110 or 112, something like that. So that is my 6-pack.
Hey, I did miss a play. I had Arkansas USC as a money line parlay at -118. So we're our minds are alike this week, Matt.
That's either good or bad. I need a big weekend.
Yeah,
it hadn't been the best here the last few weeks. But
before we wrap this up, we got a couple more minutes here. It's never too early to talk. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, let's talk about this Washington State-Oregon game real quick. This line is -20 in favor of Oregon. Did we just forget how good Cam Ward is, or do you think he just got exposed against better defenses and Oregon just comes out and dominates this game?
I think the recipe is there to show blitz and then drop back on Cam Ward. I think he kind of got exposed a little bit. If he plays halfway decent and halfway to his capabilities, Washington State stays in that 14 to 17 point loss area. But if they figured him out and he struggles again, I could see this being a 24-point win pretty easily for the Ducks, because they're going to play pissed off, but they also are going to be focused knowing they have a shot to rematch that game for a potential college football playoff berth.
You know, the Pac-12, you talk about your Washington States, your Washingtons, your USCs, your Oregons, your UCLA. I think the team that's going to crush some dreams that not a lot of people are talking about is Oregon State. And I think they're sitting in the catbird seat, meaning I think they got a couple games at home, and it's real hard to go to Oregon State and win. I think Washington is one of those teams that's going to have to try to get through this gauntlet. I mean, we never thought when the season started the Pac-12 in its final year. Now the Pac-6, the Pac-4, the two-pack Shakors, whatever we want to call them, they're loaded this year, and they've had some great quarterback play. So I think in kids especially, we want to play the Jedi mind tricks. After a big win, we expect letdowns. After a bad loss, we expect them to bounce back. So that is the million-dollar question, Matt. Which Oregon team shows up? Which Bo Nix team shows up?
Yeah, I think Bo Nix will tear up this Washington State defense, no doubt. And I do think Oregon is probably the better team between USC and Washington. Granted, they lost that game last week, like y'all were talking about earlier, but I do like this Oregon team. That's just a lot of points to lay. My son just
No, I agree. I agree. And I wanted to ask you guys one funny story, Quentin. Last week we got Matt's dog on the show late, and then I'm in the middle of my 5 o'clock show, and I get a FaceTime call from Matt, and I don't pick it up. And then 2 minutes later, I got another FaceTime call from Matt, and I text him. I'm like, "Hey, I'm live right now. You can text me if you," because now I'm thinking something's going on. So I end the show and I call him immediately. And he's like, "Hey, I got your text. What's up?" And I'm like, "What's up with you? You FaceTime me?" It was his 4-year-old son on the iPad trying to talk to me, trying to get on the show.
I love it.
Yeah,
he's trying to get a
some
spot.
airtime.
Yeah, get him a spot. He had a pick. Don't turn that down. He had Washington winning late.
I'm raising my biggest fear is anytime I ask him who's going to win a game, he always says LSU. And I asked him why LSU, and he says because LSU always wins. And as an Arkansas fan, that is just a knife through the chest.
Send your kid to private school. He needs to be.
I know.
He needs to be turned back to his normal self.
I'm going to close with this. I'm going to ask you about a school that I know Matt went on a couple weeks ago and lost. And the reason I'm bringing this up is at 3:30, South Florida travels to UConn. And the true number is South Florida -3.5 with the 54. It's up to 57 at Circa and now a pick. A lot of money coming in all week on the Huskies. Matt, is this a false move, or are the Huskies actually going to win a game this weekend?
I don't know. I have not followed the Huskies. That's a good question there, Jeff. I have no idea. South Florida is not very good, but UConn's sitting at 1-5. I would stay away from this. You've got better plays to spend your hard-earned money on than UConn in football.
I'm only touching that if it's UConn playing South Florida in basketball.
That's ugly.
I wanted to ask Quentin one question, and then we'll let Matt close with it. We're going to let Matt close with this. It's never too early to talk college baseball as we're almost into November. I know the boys play in the fall. Q, give us a temperature of your Gators and a little preview. What can we expect once we hit 2024? And what's the talk on the streets on the Florida Gators of baseball?
It's going to be different. You lose Wyatt Langford, you lose Josh Rivera, BT Riopel, proven leaders, as well as Hurston Waldrop and Brandon Sproat, but they reloaded. I'll give you a name early on to remember is Liam Peterson. He's a true freshman coming in. I would imagine somehow he slipped. He was supposed to be a 2 or 3 round draft pick. He falls late in the rounds. He comes to Florida, and they said he is just mowing kids down in fall practice. I think he's going to be their midweek guy, and then you'll see him in some playoff baseball and some big moments, just like you saw Cade Fisher. So remember that name. And then Jack Caglianone changed his release. They say he's consistently throwing in 100s now, a lot tighter in the strike zone, which is good. And then he's hitting grand slams in falls. So we got a lot to look forward to. They also picked up Colby Shelton, a big-time freshman power hitter from Alabama. So that's nice. But I really want to talk about Matt's Razorbacks. I hate to put a jinx on it, but I truly feel like this play is the right play. I think Arkansas could really win a College World Series this year. They have probably the best pitching staff in college baseball, I think, as long as they can stay healthy with Brady Taggart, Molina over from Texas Tech, and then Hagen Smith. And they got a freshman coming in that Mark Etheridge was talking about, Gabe something, and they said he's just lights out right now. Jared Wagner's brother comes in from Tarleton State, Jack Wagner. They brought a lot of talent in. So I think those two teams will both make Omaha, and they'll be competing for the SEC again. And I'm going to lay them both to win it, but I think Arkansas has probably got the better chance. So I'm really excited for college baseball. I've already started studying. I'm listening to fall reports, and February can't get here fast enough.
And let's not forget about the pitching school of all pitching schools in Wake Forest. They get transfer from Tennessee, Chase Burns. They return, I think, Massey and Josh Hartle too. So their rotation is going to be pretty salty, but I doubt we get the Deeks at the price that we got them at last year.
Yeah,
unfortunately, but no Louder, no Wilkin. So we'll see.
Jeff, we're touching 75 units this year. I hit 55.
It's always good to talk some college.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Keep it up.
Yeah, just saying I hit 55 last year, joining Matt late in April, and I'm going for 75. I think he touched 90. We're going to get him over 100. It's going to be a good time.
And then we obviously can't wait for the NCAA Insiders, your analytics, your breakdowns, your game day matchups. We'll be here obviously on Fridays to break down those games once we get to February and beyond. The scroll has been going the whole time. You can obviously follow Grissom and Matt. By the way, little tap on my back there. I caught your new X at Grissom on X.
I saw that. I was very
impressed. Added that to the show. I didn't miss that.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I had to get rid of Grissom tweets.
Follow him at NCAA Insiders. There you go. Follow Quentin at Q Millie, of course, and Notebook Wager One. Quentin, close us out with where you can find all your good and hard-earned work, please.
At Q Millie, at Notebook Wagering One, and at NCAA Insiders with Matt and our new guy that we picked up, Smitty Bucks. He's a funny addition to the show. He does bring some stats and analytics, more so for the Billboard Top 100 for that current year. But it's a good time, and we look forward to the upcoming seasons with him and Matt, still producing top-notch analytics. So you can find all of our stuff on the X at NCAA Insiders on YouTube and our website, ncaainsiders.com.
Thanks for having us on, Jeff. We're going to be late for our own show now.
Matt,
that's fine.
Follow me at Grissom on X. That's the easiest thing I ever changed my name to. So I can just say that. Follow me at Grissom on X.
Until Elon Musk changes Twitter to X to X marks the spot or something. We'll have to figure that one out. So, all right, boys, another great week as always. At 5:00, myself and Ron will close out the week with the closing bell, talking some analytics and data in college and the NFL. But till then, shout out to go follow Quentin Mills at Q Millie and at the Notebook Wager One, and of course Grissom at Grissom on X, and of course at the NCAA Insider. Everyone else, go grab yourself